All right, we'll call to order the first meeting of 2025 for the City of Daly City. Welcome, everyone. So before we begin public participation, there are three ways to submit comments. Number one, submit written comments by meeting day. Number two, submit written comments during the meeting. And number three, attend the meeting in person. To submit written comments by meeting day, please email the city clerk at cityclerk@dalycity.org. All written comments received by 4 p.m. on meeting day will be provided to the city council prior to the meeting. Any emailed comments after 4 p.m. on the meeting date are not guaranteed to be received by the city council prior to the meeting. Comments are not read aloud into the record. During the meeting, you may visit www.dalycity.org/agendas to submit comments using the public comment form to address the city council on specific item, or during the public comment period, and such comments are delivered to the city council and city staff during the meeting and may be read into the record at the time they are received. To speak in person, there are speaker cards back in the corners of the entranceways, so if you want to say anything, please complete those cards and submit them to a staff member. Persons with disabilities who require auxiliary aids or services in attending or participating in this meeting should call the office of the city clerk at 650-991-8078 as soon as possible. Before I begin, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. The city of Daly City acknowledges that we are on the ancestral lands of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. We recognize their enduring connection to this region and honor their history, culture, and contributions. As indigenous protectors of this land, we affirm their sovereign rights as the original inhabitants of this land and pay respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. We please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ms. City Clerk, if you can please provide roll call for us, please.
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Present.
Ms. Perano,
Present.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, present.
Ms. Manalo,
Present.
Dr. Rod.
Present. We have one presentation today. So we have the Daly City Bike Share Pilot Program, Laura Kroll, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. So please come up.
Before I introduce Laura, I just want to thank the council members. This is a program that's been in the works for quite some time, so we're really excited about bringing this presentation to you. So without further ado, Laura with MTC will give the presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chu.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. As Richard mentioned, my name is Laura Kroll. I'm with MTC as a principal planner, and I'm here today to present the Bay Wheels Bike Share Pilot in Daly City and to seek approval of a contract between MTC, Daly City, and Lyft for the pilot. This has been a joint effort between Daly City, CCAG, and MTC. Next slide, please. Bay Wheels is the Bay Area's regional bike share program. The program is managed by MTC and operated by Lyft in 5 cities: Berkeley, Emeryville, Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose. The program has been running since 2017, and the existing contract expires in July 2027. The program is a public-private partnership that was initially a $0 contract. In February 2023, MTC put funding into the program for the first time by investing in e-bikes, lowering prices, and adding new programming. In November 2023, prices were lowered and those e-bikes were launched in San Francisco and San Jose, with the remaining e-bikes launching in the additional cities in spring and fall of last year. These new e-bikes and lowered pricing have led to noticeable increases in ridership. In 2024, we saw a 30% increase in ridership compared to 2023, and we're excited to see that trend continue in 2025. Next slide, please. As Richard mentioned, this joint effort to bring bike share to Daly City has been in the works for more than a year. In December 2022, Daly City was identified as a recommended pilot location from the CCAG Shared Micromobility Feasibility Study. A few months later, MTC announced its intent to fund pilots of Bay Wheels bike share expansion to new cities. Early last year, Daly City, MTC, and CCAG began collaborating to identify shared goals and the feasibility of a bike share pilot in Daly City. The Daly City BART bike share station, which launched in May, provided a timely culmination of this work and provided further enthusiasm for bike share in Daly City. Finally, this fall, MTC and CCAG both approved funding for the Daly City expansion, and Daly City applied for and won a grant from the San Mateo County Transportation Authority. Next slide, please. The proposed 2-year pilot would cost roughly $1.5 million and has all its funding secured. Beyond staff time, no additional funding would be required of Daly City for the 2-year pilot. The system would be up to 80 e-bikes and between 8 and 12 stations, whose locations would be identified in the spring with input from the public, Daly City, and Lyft. The stations would be implemented in a phased approach, starting with 8 stations initially, and then assessing usage and utilization to determine if stations should be made larger or if additional stations should be added elsewhere in the city. This monitoring and assessment would be done in conjunction with Daly City, Lyft, and MTC. The pilot would last for 2 years, with operating costs funded by CCAG in the first year and the ACR TDM grant that Daly City won in the second year. Throughout the pilot, we'll be monitoring the program to analyze future viability. This includes tracking ridership, station usage, bike utilization, and outreach with users. The Daly City system would be integrated into the existing Bay Wheels program, so users would have the same pricing model and would be able to use the existing bikes and stations in the other 5 cities. Next slide, please. The pricing structure will follow the existing system-wide pricing, which includes 3 different user types: non-members, members, and an income-qualified program called Bike Share for All. Users can use the bikes in 2 different modes: classic mode, which mimics a pedal or acoustic bike, and e-bike mode, which provides an electric-assisted boost. For non-members, there is no upfront cost, but there's an additional per-trip unlock fee as well as higher per-minute fees. Memberships cost $29 for a monthly membership or $150 for an annual membership, and users don't have an unlock fee and get an additional 45 minutes of free ride time on the classic mode and have lower e-bike prices than non-members. And the Bike Share for All program has a $5 annual membership for the first year and then additional free ride time as well as lower per-minute fees and a cap on the e-bike costs, trip costs. The eligibility for the program includes CalFresh, Muni Lifeline, and PG&E Cares. You can see an example of some trip costs on the slide as well to highlight some of the differences in pricing. So for example, a 10-minute ride from the Daly City BART station to City Hall would cost $1.50 on an e-bike for members compared to $6.99 for non-members on an e-bike. Next slide, please. Our estimated timing would be looking towards a summer 2025 launch. And assuming the contract is approved today, we would then look to execute the contract in the next month. So we could begin outreach and identifying potential station locations in the spring. After the summer 2025 launch, we would use the time until fall to monitor stations and adjust any sizing or locations as needed. This would put the pilot conclusion in summer 2027, and we would work with Daly City and CCAG to report back the pilot's outcomes, both leading up to the conclusion of the pilot and afterwards. Next slide, please. In summary, we are recommending approval of a contract between Daly City, MTC, and Lyft to expand Bay Wheels Bike Share into Daly City for a 2-year pilot for 80 e-bikes in between 8 and 12 stations. Thank you. And I think Sean Carpenter from CCAG just wanted to add a couple of things.
Good evening. Oh, sorry, a little too close. Good evening, Sean Charpentier, Executive Director at CCAG, and wanted to thank you tonight for being a great partner on this. It's been over just about 2 years since we adopted our feasibility plan, and we are very happy to be here tonight with you and for this decision This is quite an exciting development in San Mateo County, and we hope that it will only be such a success here. We know it will be such a success here that it will expand throughout the rest of the county. Would also like to acknowledge grateful for your staff support, your leadership, the leadership of the TA, and also support from our MTC commissioners. David Canepa and Gina Pappin have been strong advocates for this. In addition to the equity program that was mentioned here, we are also, as part of the San Mateo County Express Lanes JPA, looking at a mobility card that would be preloaded with $200 per eligible San Mateo County resident that could be used on bay wheels as well. So we're very excited. One of the key metrics of success with these programs is expeditious identification of locations and deployment. And we look forward to working with your staff in that endeavor during the spring. And Kim Weaver from my staff is here. She was one of the main project managers on the feasibility study, so it's just wonderful to see these things come to fruition. And we are available if there are any questions. Thank you.
I just want to comment real quickly. This is a presentation, no action needed at this time. There is the item on the consent calendar, which will provide authorization for the city manager to enter into all necessary agreements for this program. Lastly, I just want to mention that this program really illustrates how well multiple agencies can collaborate together. There's 4 different agencies: MTC, CCAG, we got a grant from the Transportation Authority, as well as Daly City. So this entire program, for the most part, is basically almost $0 to Daly City. And so really want to give thanks to CCAG, MTC, in regards to the collaboration that we were able to do for this program. So thank you. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Yes. I'd like to open up to my colleagues, Ms. Teresa Perano, or Councilwoman Perano.
Thank you. I just had a quick question. Number one, I don't seem to be with a helmet. Is that a law, or is that just for children? Helmets?
I think the state law is 18 and up for helmets.
So 18 below?
18 and below are
Below
required
helmets, so
to wear
adults
helmets.
don't require. So that's number one. And these bikes are geared for adults?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
yes.
And then the next question would be, so let's just say someone takes a bike from Daly City BART and they ride it down to Westlake Shopping Center. Is that like a destination where they would leave the bike there and then somebody would pick it up? Or do they need to, how do they get it back to, or do they, I'm trying to understand, you don't want a bunch of bikes hanging out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll be doing is identifying locations to have those stations, those destinations exactly as I identified it, so that someone can take a one-way trip from, say, BART to Westlake Shopping Center. And then the idea is a mixture of the system rebalances itself. So someone else is like, I'm done at Westlake and I would like to go back to BART or go somewhere else in the city. And then sort of supplemented with Lyft, rebalancing the system as needed. If there's a lot of commute trips that are going in one direction, then Lyft will look at that and start to rebalance bikes sort of ahead of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Pamela DiGiovanni.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Kind of like what Councilmember Perano was saying, when they bring the trip down, and how long do they have before they decide maybe they want to take that trip back up to the BART? Is there a certain number of hours? Are they on a clock kind of thing? Or, like a time limit for shopping?
Yeah, no time limit, luckily. You can park the bike at the station and that'll end your ride. And then you can do whatever you want, whether that's not take the bike in the other direction and hop on a bus, have someone else pick you up in a car. So it's sort of the goal, or a key part of it, is that you can take one-way trips without sort of being on the clock or being worried about, your fares just going up. You can end your bike and that cost is ended there.
I just want to say it's a great thing. I'm very supportive, and I see Shirley here and Mr. Chu and everyone that worked on this, and always supportive. But I also have one more quick question. So when they were saying that we're going to refer to locations and we're going to ask, I guess I saw Lyft on the list of, is that because Lyft has our presence over here off of Mayfair is why we're going to engage them and seeing if that's a location that's okay for viable.
So Lyft is the operator of the system, so they
Okay.
they'll be the ones rebalancing the bikes, and they've had a lot of experience with station sighting, so they'll be able to help all parties identify locations.
And for the first time when people have ever even ridden an e-bike, I'm sure this will be the first. I personally have never done it, but will there be any kind of safety training, or will they involve our officers to do it, or who's going to be in charge of like safety training the first? Because I'm sure it's all new to everyone. Because all the traffic that we have, John Daly Boulevard, and will they use our particular straight bike lanes, or will they have to be in the traffic?
Yeah, so they'll be able to use the bike lanes. And as for sort of outreach and engagement, both MTC and I know CCAG applied for and received a grant also from the TA to do a lot of that education as well. So in the past, we've worked with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition to do a lot of that education work where they're, effectively doing a class for people to say, hey, this is what bike share is. This is how you take a bike out of a station, and then providing that kind of like safe facility to ride on and kind of be like, okay, I feel comfortable on an e-bike. I feel like I can do this. So,
And I don't even have to ask, because CCAG always does things in multiple languages. So that question is usually, you guys are really good about that to make sure that everybody, and Mr. Chu, I know he seems to be, I'm really excited about this one, Mr. Chu. This item sounds like a really good one on the agenda tonight. So it's exciting for the people, and that for having Daly City, I think we're the right demographics, and that you've identified, and benefactor for socioeconomics as well. And that I know that when I even was on CCAG, equity was a big thing that Davina Hurt and all of you worked on. So I think that was a real big key. And that's all I have for now, Mayor. And thank you all for being here, and it's a great program, and let's get going.
All right. Any other comments, questions from Councilwoman Manalo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that this is so exciting to see this really here now. I know that it's been a long time coming with all of the studies, and as Director Chu mentioned, it's really looking to see how collaboration could really be done on multiple agencies. I want to say thank you to all the staff of multiple agencies that put their time and effort to this. We know that Daly City is a very dense population, and most importantly, a lot of our residents use public transportation, and having another opportunity to reach that last mile, or to be able to, go to like key community places through, this now electric bikes, I think is going to be so important for our community. And so I was able to try one of them when we launched the first station in Daly City. And I think not only is it an opportunity for ensuring we reduce our gas emissions, right? Because, through electric bikes, but also is an opportunity to also keep your body moving in a little way if you choose the non-electric one. So I think there's so many benefits to this. I do have a question, and with the bike share eligibility, I know that if you have CalFresh, it said if you are part of these programs, but where would our residents apply for these programs?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The application process is all through, there's two apps, so the Bay Wheels app, and then Lyft, you can also do it through the Lyft app. And so it would be directly, you're applying with the operator by submitting your proof of those other programs. And usually it's about 2 to 3 days max between application and approval.
So it's online, an online application.
And yes, pardon me, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure, because I know there's people watching, and if anything, this is such a great program, seeing what you've mentioned online or on the presentation. So I just want it to be clear for our residents and those that want to apply, how to apply. And so you're basically saying, go on the website and then upload documents?
Correct.
And then, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And we'll also have, I know with the other existing cities, we've worked with various, in most cases, it's been libraries, to also have a place for in-person signups in case people don't have access to technology.
Okay, that's wonderful. I think, if there's any way we can work on that, I think that would be useful for some of our members in our community that do qualify. We also have like the Daly City Community Service Center, and I know a lot of them help our community members. And so if there's any way to collaborate and help our community use this.
Absolutely.
So very exciting. I mean, this is, thank you for all the hard work. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Vice Mayor
Yes,
Glenn Sylvester.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start off with the good part. It was mentioned before by one of my colleagues about the collaboration. And I'm very familiar with Gina Pappin, and I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, she said that she would work in obtaining a collaboration between all the different agencies, especially in transportation, BART, Muni, and, such thing as a Clipper card. And I'm glad to see that this has come to fruition, because if we work together, there's so much that we can do. So that was a big start. That's the first thing I got when I first heard the presentation. Councilmember Perano made mention, and I'm concerned about the helmet laws also. And if it's adults over 18, so can I assume that any person who utilizes your services over 18 years of age, he or she should have a helmet? Excuse me.
Pardon me for saying that wrong initially. The helmet law would require anyone 18 and under to be wearing a helmet for bikes in general, and the Bay Wheels program is only for 18 and older. So there would be no helmet requirement for using the Bay Wheels bike share program.
Okay. Well, I don't have vehicle code in front of me, but I know a helmet is generally required. I'd have to read more about that, but that is a concern for me in regards of safety. What's the maximum distance that someone can go on the e-bike?
It usually depends on how much battery life. If a bike is fully charged, about 24 miles, but some of that depends on how much you're using the e-bike assist. So if you were using it less, obviously it can go even further than that.
And it also depends on the terrain, how heavy the person is, and I get it. Which leads me to my next question, and you kind of alluded to it, your charging infrastructure. Where would these bikes be charged?
So currently the batteries are swapped out. So Lyft will have, they have rebalancing vans where they're often doing multiple things at once, such as, say, rebalancing bikes if there's a station that's too full. And then they'll also be swapping out batteries. So they'll see, okay, there's, these 10 bikes that only have 2 miles left. We should go out and swap that battery.
Gotcha.
So it's done manually.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. Working with law enforcement. I do get it. This is a project that we have to get up off the ground and subsequently start obtaining data.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, in regards to law enforcement, privacy concerns, how would someone, if they commit a crime and they escaped or they left on an e-bike, is that so, you made mention about Lyft. I guess you have some sort of GPS tracking and who obtained the bike at certain times, and I guess with the right legal subpoenas that information can be provided to law enforcement if it's requested.
I'm not familiar enough with the,
Somebody
both the
goes
technology
to
and the lyrics.
Ceremony Shopping Center and they're utilizing an e-bike, and it has been determined that that person has committed a crime, either theft or aggravated assault, and they were seen leaving on the e-bike. And you folks would not know unless law enforcement would probably reach out to you based upon witnesses' statements. In other words, can law enforcement depend on getting assistance from obtaining additional information if they need it?
I would have to ask Lyft. That would be, I think, under their jurisdiction. I'm not, unfortunately, a lawyer or familiar enough with that to know, but I'm happy to follow up and ask some questions of them there.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask a question if you live here in the Bay Area, but I won't. But yeah, that's a concern, and we want to be able to cover all different aspects. We're all in this together to work together. Somebody picks up an e-bike at, I think this was kind of answered, but it wasn't really to my satisfaction. Somebody picks up an e-bike, say at Daly City BART Station, and they commute to San Francisco State, and say 9 o'clock in the morning. I know you said that we have to check, because what if that person needs the bike to say like 2 p.m. in the afternoon? Could they still have access, or will the rebalancing take effect and someone will pick up the bike and bring it back to Daly City BART? What if they need it? How is that determined?
Yeah.
In other words, when you sign it out, do you say estimated time that you may want to keep it?
Yeah, so the goal is that you don't have to take the exact same bike that you took to the original
Gotcha.
station. So there, hopefully, that there would be
Something else.
exactly 10 other bikes there that would sort of help with that. So adding the additional flexibility. Yeah.
Good. It seems to remind me like a stolen vehicle. If you ever had your vehicle stolen and I thought I parked it there, and you come back and it's gone. Well, I had the e-bike at. Okay, all right. I'm just trying to dispel all of that. Councilmember Di Giovanni brought up a good point, and I'm just going to comment on this issue and then make my final thoughts on it. Safety. I think as part of the budgeting program, maybe classes should be offered, I don't know, based upon the usage, at least once a week or something on your website, new to e-bikes. Come and, like Councilmember Manalo had made mention, she had the opportunity to try one of them, and that could be part of your safety course where you have the bikes available and participants can at least try it, because that may stimulate usage. So I would recommend perhaps offering classes and have that as part of the program.
Yes, you hit it spot on. That's what
Okay.
our plan is.
And my last comment I was going to make, I think this is going to do more than reducing the carbon emissions, but at least getting folks to realize how great e-bikes can be. And not only in the usage of e-bikes, but even myself, I've considered for the past couple of years of purchasing one myself. So when I see the picture up there with Councilmember Manalo and Supervisor Campbell and Gina Pappin, I said, oh, yeah, I'd like to try that. I mean, a couple of months ago, I bought a tricycle, but it don't look good. So I think it can work both ways too, and more folks would probably move in that direction and consider. I feel, which is inevitable. So I want to thank you for your presentation, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just have a couple of questions about the bikes. And I know this is a pilot program, but is there any conversations about providing adaptive bikes for those that have disabilities?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. We are currently working with the Bay Area Outreach and Recreational Program, BORP, who's based in Berkeley. We've been supporting their San Francisco program in Golden Gate Park, as well as working to develop some additional program in the East Bay and San Jose. So we would definitely like to include Daly City in that work as well as just for, at the very least, for outreach to the San Francisco program, and then also identify what work you can do here too.
I'm not really familiar with, I've been down to downtown San Francisco, and one of the critiques is, and I've been to different cities around the United States that have e-bikes, and one of the critiques is, once they're done with either, and it's just bikes, right? Is it scooters included or just bikes?
Just bikes for
Bikes.
now, yeah.
one of the critiques is like people will just leave the bikes wherever. And who is going to be monitoring so it doesn't become such a nuisance to the community?
Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely seen that before. The system will be a docked-based system. I know in San Francisco they have they're part of the Babel's program, and it's a hybrid system there. So that's sort of the first step of the user behavior will only be, station to station. And then Lyft has local operations crews that would help with, if a resident sees a bike is not parked at a station, we can call them to come pick up the bike.
Great. All right. I think this is a great program. I think it goes alongside with like Mr. Chu, and we were talking about Project Zero and what all the different things that we're doing, changing in Daly City to provide more bike lanes. Vice Mayor talked about it, reducing carbon emissions and talking about health benefits and, being affordable in terms of getting from point A to point B. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Council
just a quick one.
Member DiGiovanni.
We're along the lines of safety. So I live at Westlake Apartments, and I remember when the mayor was referring to, we did have those scooters years ago that were coming from San Francisco where people were leaving them everywhere. And also the fact that I see people pick up, because they do a lot of the dash runs and stuff, they take their e-bikes and they bring them in their apartment. And so my thing is about a fire danger with those batteries. So is there any way to either put a warning or work with the fire department? Because I see them and I'm like, oh my God, they're taking their scooters with the batteries, they're going in their apartment where the children are, and then anything can happen to those batteries, because they're combustible, right? They can be.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, what can we do to prevent them from doing that?
Yeah, at least for the bike share program, I know that Lyft has worked closely with the San Francisco Fire
Don't
Department.
take indoors, right?
Yeah, and for at least for the bike share bikes, they will have to be parked at stations, so they won't be able to be sort of brought into individual apartments.
So like something along the lines that you guys can have rules maybe, and then if they are known to take it inside, then they won't be able to use the bike again, or I don't know, because that's a big concern, especially we have 4,000 of those Westlake apartments, and I see them, I get why they take them in, and then they go back out and they probably use them to deliver food or whatever to try to make a living. But it's really disturbing to think that those batteries inside with children and elders, that anything could happen. So thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Council Member Perano.
So the question then is, if the bicycles have some sort of what you had in your,
Like a GPS?
like a GPS deal, is
Tracker.
that, do these bikes have that? So then you would be able to quickly find them without someone having to report it? And then if
Correct,
it
yes.
lands where, like she says, in an apartment, and you don't, if they're not docked at a certain time, like something goes off and to go search for it, I don't know.
Yeah, and Lyft has an asset recovery team that would be able to help, in getting those assets and sort of bringing them back outside into the stations, into the system, yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
I got one.
All right. Vice Mayor.
I'm sitting here and I'm just marveling. You are definitely a great representative in putting forth this presentation. Your knowledge of the system is to be commended, and you basically answered all the questions, and those that you were unsure, you had offered to follow up on it. So I want to say, job well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, down to approval of
So
sorry about that. Head down over here. I gotta have.
very briefly, just real quickly, if this item is approved under consent, the anticipated rollout date is approximately July of this year, just to give you that information. So, and then we'll also be back for the TA grant that we received at a later date, once we have the agreement from the Transportation Authority, and that does have a small local mesh. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. All right. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes for the regular meeting of December 9, 2024, and the special meeting of December 16, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second?
All right.
Sorry.
It's like, City Clerk, whoever you heard first. Okay. We have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next up is the approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of January 13, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve agenda?
We got a first, we have a second.
Glenn Sylvester, second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now we have public comment. So if, I believe we don't have any public comment, okay? Blazing through this. Now we're getting down to the consent agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda, or is there anything that we want to get pulled?
Motion to approve agenda?
Okay, we got a first,
Glenn Sylvester, second.
we got a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
All right. We'll see you back in July. No. Okay, and consent agenda. Okay, communications. Agenda number 9, legacy business nominations. We have Maybell Manio. Welcome, Maybell.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. I hope you all had a healthy and happy holiday, and 2025 looks bright for you. And congratulations to Mayor Dr. Rod and Vice Mayor Glenn Sylvester on your positions. I'm going to be presenting the nominations that our small business commissioners nominated for this year. The first one is the Bread Basket, which is located at 7099 Mission Street. I'm sure you've probably seen some of their goodies at our local Safeways or others, but they opened in 1977, making them almost 50 years old. And they serve as a cultural hub for the Filipino community in Daly City. If you've ever had pandesal or any of their ube baked goods, you know what I'm talking about. And it holds a deep cultural and nostalgic value for many of the Filipino Americans. And it reminds people of our heritage, fostering a sense of connection to their roots, and contributes to the presence and contributions to our community here in Daly City. So I'm going to run through all three because that's what you guys did last year. So they meet all of the requirements for the eligibility for the Legacy Business Program, falling under $1 million in gross receipts, having less than 100 employees, and having no pending complaints with us. But I believe this is a good candidate because they do showcase the culinary traditions of the Philippines, and exposure to this helps promote cultural understanding, appreciation, and the diversity within the Philippines. And that looks like the picture of them when they opened in the 70s. The next one is the $1 only store at 6400 Mission Street at John Daly. They opened in 2006, and this was nominated by one of our commissioners because it served as an essential place for their family, as well as many other low-income families who have limited access to other retail options. So the store offers basic necessities, household essentials, groceries at a lower price. You could even see some organic things there for $1. So it definitely serves our community well. The other requirement for a legacy business is that they are committed to maintaining the physical features or traditions that define the business. And I believe this is a good candidate because it actually serves us within the iconic venue of the old Matthews TV and electronics. I feel like everybody is around my age or older, so I'm pretty sure you guys remember in the 1970s and 80s when they would run thousands and thousands of ads telling people to buy radio, get a bike, or buy a TV, get a bike. I believe some of our people here have also received a bike back then. But it does play a vital role in economic development as it revitalizes a commercial space that people deem dear to them that may otherwise sit vacant or dormant. And but just the history of this, I included another picture that isn't the current business, but, we want to go back, sorry. But Matthews TV and Stereo took over the defunct Five and Dime a long time ago, Sprouse Rights, and made it the gleaming mountain top citadel in the minds of generations of home electronics, and colloquially termed top of the hill for us. So I believe this is where the neighborhood name came from, and I think it would be a great idea for council to approve this nomination, as it's kind of the quintessential venue that demarcated the top of the hill, and it's definitely a harbinger for more great things to come for this business corridor. And then last but not least is the Royal Donut Shop at Skyline Plaza. They opened in 1991, making it 34 years old. And they provide readily available sweet treats, boosting the economy, fostering a sense of community by providing a gathering space. I know a lot of people go there in the morning before work, and the owners and staff are just super cheerful and positive, and they provide an atmosphere for customers to enjoy, and they also meet the eligibility requirements for this program. The wife has since retired. The husband and 2 high school students are holding down that fort. Very, very humble people. So the city will continue to provide recognition plaques, window decals, stickers, things like that. That are awarded with the Legacy Business designation. We will continue to develop our online registry, and then we'll also celebrate at our Legacy Business celebration, coinciding with Small Business Week, tentatively set for May 8, 2025. So we'll continue to work with the commissioners to cooperatively nominate more small businesses that have contributed to Daly City's neighborhoods and cultural relevance. And staff, I, as well as the ECD director, are available for any questions.
Thank you, Maybell. So let's open it up to my colleagues. Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Manio. I mean, the nominations from the Small Business Commission, I think, reflect, Daly City, especially, I think it's great that it also are in different locations of Daly City. And, Breadbasket has definitely been a staple for a long time, and for them to be able to have Breadbasket at like Safeway, and then also be so close to schools such as Jefferson High School, where I do remember fond memories of walking home to school and making sure I got a snack from there. And so it's, with Royal Donut as well as the Dollar Only store, I think you really were able to articulate how that particular business is right there at the top of the hill. like literally top of the hill, from Matthews to the business that it is now. And so I think, I think it's great that the 3 businesses that are being nominated this evening nominated from our Small Business Commission, I'm in agreement with it. And so, thank you.
Any other comments from my colleagues?
Mr. Short.
Councilwoman DiGiovanni.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say they're great locations and that, yes, yummy foods, because even a few months ago when the bread basket was having it was like a taste testing thing that they had, and they opened it up. Council member Winifred Nicholas from South City and I went there because she's friends with the family. And the way they did it, and they brought us in the back, they showed us at the bread basket, everything that they made, how the family was, cooking everything, how they came up with the recipes, and they gave a whole long history. Even they had people sitting outside, around the corner, because there's not very many places to sit, but they provided spaces, and a lot of our people came that knew them personally, and then people that have never even tried it before saw people outside, which drew the thing. And who doesn't love to go to Royal Donut as well? And then, like you said, that for people that are used to going to getting their items at the dollar store, they actually have really good produce. Their produce is really excellent, and how they can scale down these days and times for the pricing is amazing. But I think that it just showcases, again, with our Small Business Commission, I mean, when you think about it, from the conception, I know that San Francisco is the one who started this, but from the conception of highlighting our own, that we have so many, that this will be so ongoing, which is a beautiful thing, because people don't really know how to tap into what we really have, like to highlight each of these with the families. And like you said, the young people are taking over. And then that just spurs them for entrepreneurship as well, right? And they can connect with the Renaissance and put their own spin in it. And we know the history of the donut shops in general with our Asian community, with those documentaries. And it's so important to the connectivity to the cultures that exist here of representing in food. And it's not just food. It's also representative of the diversity. So thank the commission as well. And then looking forward to, hopefully we'll do taste testings in May as well. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Perano.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are all excellent choices. I think when we think about things like, when you think about Daly City, even the movie Lumpia and seeing that fight scene, if anybody's ever seen the movie, it's in Breadbasket, right? The dollar store, it's synonymous with Top of the Hill, and man, Royal Donut, man, dang. I mean, those are the times where I'd be waiting for my daughter to get out of school and be like, okay, I'll be out at the donut shop. Yeah, so I think those are all excellent choices. I know that Vice Mayor, you have anything else? Okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Magno, thank you so much. I know you watching over the Small Business Commission and keeping them going and say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do this. And what you've done is make sure that we don't forget. And I think that's outstanding. Breadbasket. I don't know, maybe Councilmember Manalo can help me. I think, didn't Breadbasket provide to the community
Yeah, they did.
with donations at PBRC on JS? And seeing them racks of, it's those things that I don't forget. And if you don't let people know, they won't know. But for sure, for Breadbasket, and their donation to the community is what I remembered. And being it's only about 4 blocks from my house, how can you miss it? Do you know what it takes to get up so early in the morning to bake? So excellent choice. Dollar Only store. I was just there about a week and a half ago, and my wife says to me, "Well, they changed the name. So can we just verify the name? I think it's nothing over $1.25 or something. It's inflation, I get it. So, if we're gonna put this out to the public, I think we should have the correct name as to what it is now. And lastly, Royal Donuts. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best not to look to the back. And what they say. about donuts, because I've definitely had my share of donuts, but uh, excellent. So great job. Thanks again to the Small Business Commission, and just well done. Great choices. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Yes, and to clarify, it's everything $1.50, but they still hold their license under $1 only.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. 150. All right.
Randy. Okay, so can I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion to adopt resolution?
Got a first? We got a second? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Ms. Perano,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo,
Aye.
Dr. Rod.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Mayville. All right, down to agenda item number 10, appropriate funds and award design and construction contract for the Magical Bridge Playground and Improvements Project at Hillside Park, Daly City. We have Mr. Chu coming back.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is to appropriate funds and award a design and construction contract for the Magical Bridge Playground and Improvement Project at Hillside Park. This project took a long time to get to this major milestone. It started way back in May of 2022 when the city received $4 million in grant funds. And at that time, it was intended for Margate Park. Margate Park, the reservoir needed to do some retrofit, as well as around the same time, the idea of bringing a Magical Bridge Playground to Daly City was also envisioned. And so in November of 2023, after working with the granting agency, we were able to reallocate the funds from Margate Park to Hillside Park. As a result of that, in December of 2023, the City Council entered into an agreement with Magical Bridge Foundation to bring a Magical Bridge Playground to Hillside Park. Shortly thereafter, we put together a request for qualification and then also a request for proposal in June of last year. The improvements project does include a Magical Bridge Playground at Hillside Park as well as some associated amenities. The city staff and Magical Bridge Foundation worked very closely with the one qualified design build entity to develop a draft concept plan for a maximum price proposal of $5,490,514. The design build entity is Robert A. Boffman and Verde Design, and they have been involved in doing Magical Bridge playgrounds in the area, and they have the experience and the expertise for the Magical Bridge Playground and park improvements. Magical Bridge Foundation themselves has worked with these firms as well, and they do recommend moving forward with them for this project. If the overall project is awarded as recommended, it's anticipated to be completed by middle of next year. Fiscal impact, the total project cost is estimated to be $7 million. That includes the $5.5 million for the design and construction contract, as well as an additional $1.5 million for contingencies, inspections, contract administrations, staff time, and other miscellaneous soft costs. The Magical Bridge Playground at Hillside Park project account currently has about $3.8 million in there. So an additional $3.2 million is needed to fully fund the project. This action will accept and appropriate $1 million of the Budish Family Trust for this project, which many of you are aware of the Budish Family Trust. And then an additional $2.2 million of general CIP funds from Fund 33 will also be appropriated to this project. So in summary, staff is recommending that the City Council review and approve the concept plan and images for the Magical Bridge Playground, which we can just show that on the screen. Also affirm the secret determination of categorical exemption, approve and appropriate the $1 million of the Buddhist Family Trust for this project, and also appropriate $2 million of unallocated general CIP funds from Fund 33 for this project. Accept the design build proposal and award the contract to Robert A. Bothman and Verde Design in the amount of $5,490,514. And then finally, authorize the city manager or his designee to execute all necessary contracts to complete the project. We put on the screen the concept plan for the Magical Bridge Playground. We went through several iterations with Magical Bridge Foundation as well as the design build entity to come up with something that budget-wise would make sense for us. And so this is what we have at the moment. It's a conceptual plan. It does have all the components of a Magical Bridge Playground. And as I mentioned, Magical Bridge Foundation was involved in helping to put this together. And so they approved that, this concept plan. There's a few, maybe a few other components that we can show some examples of in terms of some of the various components that make up a Magical Bridge Playground. So that concludes my presentation, and happy to answer any questions council may have.
Okay. Love to open up the discussion. My colleagues, anybody want to lead off?
Sure.
Councilwoman Manalo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, Director Chu, and to the staff that has brought this forth, I think that it's really exciting to see kind of the next step, seeing a concept with Magical Bridge, knowing that the necessity for an all-inclusive playground in the North San Mateo County is needed. Really, there was a community member that had reached out who had an autistic child and would always need to go all the way down to, down towards San Mateo County, and, asked if there was a possibility to ever have something for not only his child, but for all the other children that would need this. And so I think that, here in Daly City, we're going to be able to host an all-inclusive park, but it doesn't necessarily only mean that it's going to be our residents. There's many that will not have to travel further down, whether it's our surrounding neighbors or whatnot. So I think that even being able to have this type of playground in our community is extremely, I think, a cultural community asset. And it also signals that we're thinking forward around having places and spaces that are intentional and not necessarily just, just one ADA approved swing, but really looking at a real holistic model in which Magical Bridge has done in other municipalities. And so I just want to say thank you to the staff that has worked on this. It's very exciting. This is something that, our community members need, and is also for everyone, both young and old. And it's wonderful to see. I can't wait to see kind of what the next iteration and steps are. So thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? Councilwoman Di Giovanni.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Mr. Chu, now it's starting to become more of a reality. And then I know, like you said, a long time coming. I know that Joyce Cabrera, so her son Sam, she's an ambassador for the Magical Bridge. She lives in Daly City, and I know you're watching because you saw it on the agenda. It's really happening in that What is the circumference of the size of the park, that we're taking to the park, which is great?
Yeah, so if you can see here, the little rectangle on the right side, that's the existing community clubhouse
Oh,
over
yeah.
there. So by reference, that may give you some idea.
Oh, yeah.
The overall size did get reduced just as we were working through iterations and looking at cost. This isn't the final, but it's a pretty good idea in terms of conceptually what it will look like.
Yeah, I like because like you said, they're the ones that know what to do, and then they know we have to have those kind of people. I mean, they have they know where and what is needed, and because you'd like to have everything, but you can't have everything at every single. We'd like to, but at every single park. But just to see this is really going to happen, and for all the, her son is on autistic, but there's all kinds of needs as well, and those in the wheelchairs and just accessibility, sensory, and everything that's included. I love the names of the Gathering Courtyard, and it's beautiful, just really beautiful. Thanks to all the hard work. And again, Joyce Cabrera, so you guys will probably, she couldn't come tonight, but she is an ambassador. She lives in Daly City. She's also on our county disabilities. She's the one that has a son, Sam. So thank you, Joyce, for initiating, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. It's really, really beautiful.
Anybody else? Vice Mayor Sylvester.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chu, for the presentation. I'd like to actually call out and say that it was Councilmember Jocelyn Manalo who kind of brought this forth towards us in her advocacy to get this thing going. When I first heard of it, I was nonchalant about it, but having 8 grandkids, and since Councilmember Manalo has brought it up, I had to travel down to San Mateo County for 3 birthday parties, and they were all at Magical Bridge. And what impressed me the most is that it's for everyone, including those who are disabled. You had a slide up there of an individual in a wheelchair, and also for seniors, with less mobility, and it looks towards the future. And Councilmember Manalo just said something which I think was very, very important. If you want to see Magical Bridge, you would have to travel down to go see it. I am so happy that it has come before us now, because not only it's within Daly City, but you know what? Folks are going to come into Daly City as a result. So first of all, kudos to Councilmember Manalo for basically educating and telling us and giving us the story, and Councilmember DiGiovanni and some constituents who live here in Daly City who can definitely benefit from it. And job well done. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Prano.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I wanted to thank you for this. It is phenomenal. And just with the first entrance as kindness, and for a grandma of 6 who had a fort in my living room yesterday with the dining room chairs and the blanket over, I just think this, being able to bring them instead to come play here.
Yep.
Not that I mind the kids they're watching, but this is going to be something that we need it. It's as our vice mayor said, it'll be a destination for many people and birthday parties and such. So thank you for your hard work, and thank you to everybody who participated in making this a reality. And I look forward to having this in 2026 in July. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can
Yes.
add
Go
one
right
more
ahead.
thing, one quick thing. Based on Councilmember Perano's statement, you know one thing that the kids like at Magical Bridge, and we'll probably hear it here, is the ice cream trucks that come around. So Yeah, so, okay, all good. Thank you.
Again, thank you to Councilmember Manalo for bringing this up. 2023, I remember seeing this and also traveling down there. I remember when my kids are getting old, but but when my youngest one was younger, we would go out there and just, I was like, whoa, what's this cool park? And now to have the access to having this in Daly City is a beautiful thing. It's inclusive, it's innovative. I think it's something that is very beneficial to our community. Okay, yeah.
Very briefly, realizing that this was a high priority for City Council, we at the various departments really worked together under the leadership of City Manager's office, and we had finance folks and City Attorney. There was a lot involved to get us to this point. So I really want to acknowledge everyone's efforts on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. All right, with that, could I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion to adopt?
And a
Second?
First and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Aye.
Ms. Perano?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye.
Dr. Rod?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Aye.
All right. Okay, agenda item number 11, the second reading of ordinance number 1479, adding chapter 2.60 to the Daly City Municipal Code, the Women's Commission. I'm gonna hand over the microphone to Ms. Rose Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. This item came before the council as a way of introduction. There is a minor change that didn't make it to the second reading, and I had provided an updated ordinance 1479 for section 2.60.050 regards to meetings. There was a change that it is actually the fourth Thursday of every month for the regular meeting. With that, this is the second reading for adoption.
So I'd like to open it up to my colleagues, if there's any questions, feedback.
Mine's real easy.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Oh,
thank you.
okay.
Mine is
Councilmember
really easy.
DiGiovanni.
Everything is, this is no criticism. I just wanted to bring up the fact of, in the first paragraph where it says creation appointment, that it's not because of my age, but whereas it uses the word elderly and even the Commission of Aging, I was wondering if it'd be possible to use a synonym, maybe a senior, or maybe older adult, or something a little more sensitive, and also to identify all those who identify as women so that the transgender group can be included. But other than that, I'm in full support. And thank you to the mayor, and please consider just a little more sensitive about that, and physically challenged. As I know it says all women, but someone had brought this up to me, a resident today. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there any other recommended language for that, for elderly, or Vice Mayor?
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this in reference to Councilmember DiGiovanni, or, because I have another recommendation?
for sure. Go
So
right
shall
ahead.
we have discussion on hers, or did you want to move forward
Let's
on
do
that?
one quick discussion on
Okay.
Councilmember DiGiovanni, if there's any recommended language. I guess I'll go to you.
May I,
Oh.
through the mayor, when we say all women, right? So to me, that would mean everybody. So we're not getting, once you start labeling or giving, this, that, whatever, it makes it more difficult. When I hear all women, that would be all women, right? So I'm thinking that in itself. Now, with the other point, people can make another point, but I think when I hear all women, I think, doesn't matter. It's everybody, all women. If you think you could, it covers everything. Once you start naming, it may leave somebody out. You know what I mean? So we say all of them, everybody, regardless, disabled, elderly, young, all women. right? I mean, that's just my thought.
Councilmember DiGiovanni.
I just wanted to say that usually, but the language that they use, I was speaking to someone from the LGBTQ community, and then and they, for their transgender, they usually say all who identify as women. They like to have that more specific, but, I agree with you that this is all women, like all ages, like, doesn't matter what physical, mental, or whatever. When it gets down there, because it was broken down a little bit in the paragraph where it says lesbian women, teenage women. So that's the only reason I suggested were about the physically challenged. And when it says about elder, to use another word, includes, but yes, if you, whatever my colleagues think. But I was just saying what the commission of the LGBTQ community and how they use to make sure that there's inclusion.
So I guess just piggybacking
Go right
on
ahead.
Councilmember
And all who
DiGiovanni.
identify.
If we do, maybe on this less is more, if we say all women inclusive, would that be
or the-
everybody? And
I still think for sensitivity on their transgender side, there's a little more, but I would defer to you and my colleagues for that.
right, but we want to make sure everybody's included, right? Everybody.
Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I think I do hear what Councilmember Praño is stating. I think in the first sentence where it says, shall represent the entire women's community, it is basically, we are capturing everyone in the women's community. And then it then starts delineating. And so I think just to, have this, I think having physically challenged, we can put that in there. But I hear what Councilmember Praño is saying. It's saying entire women's community right from the very beginning. And then we start including third world women, lesbian women, teenage. I think if we just add within there what was stated by Councilmember DiGiovanni, physically challenged and self-identified women, I think it could, to delineate it in there is fine, but I think I hear what Councilmember Praño is saying. That first sentence is saying we're not trying to exclude anyone. That's why it's the entire women's community. But, if it can be delineated. I mean, it says elderly women. Is there another word that you would like to see, Councilmember? I think Councilmember DiGiovanni, besides elderly women.
Could we just say all ages?
Councilmember Manalo, do you think that that senior or older adult, either one of those?
Older adult women.
Okay. I mean,
May I just, again, sorry,
right
thank
ahead.
you. I think we're getting too much into the woods here. Yeah, I understand, but if we say, because I know how old I am, but I just, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I just consider myself in the category of all women, personally. Not that I'm old, young, or have any disability, but, somebody with a disability, and they're women, or they identify as women, they're women. So if we say all women of all ages, if we try to use less a description, I think it would be easy. I'm just saying as a woman myself, perhaps we just make it simple. That's all. So.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Sylvester.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councilmember Praño because when you start to break down the categories, we don't want to use that as a guide to say, well, you're not within that category. But the major point is women. Whether you're young or old, whether you're lesbian, teenage, or elderly, if you just say all women, you preclude having to go into further detail of the particular different, you're breaking women into classes of women. it's just all women, I think will take in the whole gambit of the whole purpose of the Women's Commission. My thoughts. Thank you.
I'm going to jump into this discussion as well. So I think the importance of why we go from entire women's community and then you break it down is because there's different spectrums of how people identify of gender and sexuality. And so I think even if we delineate and we go into these specific, it's important to acknowledge because historically when people say, like for when women were fighting for women's suffrage or the right to work, women of color have always been working, right? So sometimes you'll have to include the history of understanding why it's important because women of color, we're doing the work, paid and unpaid, inside and outside the household. And so I think the language where it is here, I think I would like to add the all those identify as women as well is correct, but I just want to throw that loop in just to give it a historical context because sometimes when we say all women, yes, we have this general sense, but then historically it doesn't encapture or acknowledge the different spectrums of gender that we see.
I agree.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your comment. As I'm reading the paragraph, I focused on one point, and that's the last two words, and it says single parents. Well, taking your analogy, can we also say married women? You see what I'm getting at? You say women of color, then I'm thinking, okay, including third world women, which are they considered women of color? Whereas someone who is basically Hispanic and may not, I just don't want to go through all that. Are you?
Right.
They will be acknowledged because they are tasked with dealing with women's issue, whether it be women of color, whether it be a third world woman. In other words, they're going to be dealing with women's issues. I don't care if you're single. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you're young, you're old. I don't care what color you are or what nationality you are. Are you a woman? My thoughts.
Just through, and the other thing is, the hope is that, that this commission will deal with all of it.
Yeah.
And will highlight and will work with, so that with regards to creation, again, I'm going back to it, we could, the choice of what the commission does through the direction of the council and, assistance in that, as events evolve and as their meetings evolve, I'm sure this, because this is important to us, will come to pass. And that's the only thing, I think, like you said, if we go single parent, then we go married parent, then we go, older adults and it's getting, I think we're murky in the waters, that's all. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Manal.
Okay, I see how important it is to delineate and also see how it's encompassing, right? When you say entire, the word entire, I think, is saying entire women's community. I think, I don't know, this is just a suggestion that if shall represent the entire women's community, those that identify, like just put that in.
Oh, that's good.
Identify, so,
Yeah.
identify as women, and then leave it broadly, like in that world. I mean, I understand, but when we say entire women's community,
Yeah.
I think it's capturing what we're all talking about today. And that word entire is, is going to capture what we're, and so I do hear what everyone's saying now. Now you're saying single parents. Well, about the ones that are married, I mean, it's gonna get, the list will get longer, and we're gonna I think we'll have a conversation and we'll start saying, well, we have to add this, we have add this, but then saying entire is saying, look, it's everybody, in which I think we're all agreeable here on the council to say we want everyone to be acknowledged and to be participatory.
Don't forget divorced, don't forget widowed, and
So,
So I just want to,
Member
thank you, Mayor.
DiGiovanni.
So just, I think thank you, Councilmember Manalo. If I want to make sure here, correct. So entire women and all those who identify as women.
Yeah.
So that we can, right.
entire women's community, inclusive of those who identify.
And all those who identify as
Yeah,
women.
there, and then just leave it at that.
Because you know that the history of, as the mayor has alluded to, we always want to make sure, because each of these commissions, I know that has a substance to it that's created, and it's created back on that and back on the history. This, I have to say, this council has been made sure that that is not forgotten, and that, like you said, the entirety of the women and all those who identify as women.
Okay. All right.
Or
So,
words of that nature through the mayor. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilmember Manalo.
any other questions, comments, or feedback? No.
on this subject.
And strike everything else.
Just on what?
Okay.
Okay. So we're good on that. Okay.
And
so
strike
I'm going to
everything
move down to Vice Mayor.
All right,
Go ahead,
thank you,
Vice
Mr. Mayor. Looking at membership term expense and expenses, I'm concentrating on line 3 and 4. I understand staggering, and I'm very excited for this commission. I feel that the first appointees it should be reversed, say for 4 years and then 2 years, instead of 2 years at the start.
Sounds good.
Or you nominate and request 2 or 4 years. I just think somebody really wants to be on this commission. She would probably really want to be at least, hey, give me the option 4 years at first, and then if you come in 3 or 4 or whatever, then you'll understand there'll be a 2-year appointment. I'm just requesting it's turned around and say 4 years. Thoughts, comments?
Yes.
Can I have a little background on that part? Why we went 2-year, 4-year, on the other commissions? You mean just to begin it so it staggers so everybody doesn't expire?
Yes, essentially, that's how we start it when it's a new commission, so that essentially you won't have everybody appointed
At
4
the same
years.
time.
And then now you have a vacancy all 4 years. So you stagger it.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to how our council members are. We have
Got it.
staggered terms.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But what Vice Mayor is saying is to flip those years so that we have some sort of establishment to get the commission on its feet,
Right.
and then 4 years to. Is that correct?
That's correct,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
All right. Okay.
So essentially, they're assigned by lot. So it's almost like you pick what term you're going to be. You don't say you're going to be 4 years. You're assigned by lot, like a lottery.
Oh.
Yes.
You're assigned by a
It's
lottery?
a lottery.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
no one
So
will
you don't
know which
know,
one
once the
is.
council appoints, then your term will be established by lot, which is a lottery.
lottery.
Okay.
That's even better.
Okay.
Okay, it's called the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank
Is that
you.
what LOT means? The lot.
By lot. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I learned something new.
So just to get everybody on the same page, we wanted to include the language where it is the intention of the city council that the members of the commission shall have demonstrated commitment on women's issues and shall represent the entire women's community. And a language that says, and entire women's community and those identify as women?
Inclusive of those.
Or
yeah.
inclusive?
Inclusive of those that identify. Then we're like being very
Gotcha.
clear.
Okay. And then we could strike including the third, well, women, lesbian, women, teenage, and elder. Okay, so we got that, and then we also have the membership terms we just keep as is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, as
Okay.
per the city attorney, it's by lottery.
Okay. All right, so I feel like we're at a space where we're at, unless there's anything else that we want to.
I'd like some clarification.
Yes.
Just on the language. So for the part about shall represent the entire women's community, you said you would like stricken third world women, lesbian women, teenage, that part of it, and just say inclusive to those that identify as women?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that work? Okay. Anything else? Feedback, questions on the ordinance? Okay. So seeing none, I'd like to,
So with those changes, can we have a motion?
oh yeah. Yeah. Anybody want to make a motion with the different?
Motion, happy to,
Yes.
happy to move or motion this item, the creation of a women's commission on the second reading with the amendments of the language stating, it is the intention of the city council that the members of the commission shall demonstrate a commit to women's issues and shall represent the entire women's community, inclusive of those who identify as women, period. Striking, including third world women, lesbian women, teenage and elderly women, and single
Right.
parents.
So we got a first. Do we have a second?
Second?
A second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Ms. Perano,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo,
Aye.
Dr. Rod.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, moving on down to appointments. Are there any board, commission, membership committee appointments?
Yeah.
Yes. Vice Mayor Sylvester.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to reappoint Elizabeth Espinda to the Arts and Culture
Second?
Commission.
Okay. Do we need to do a voice vote, or do we do?
It's a motion, a second, and a voice vote.
Okay. So all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Noes, objections? None? Okay. Any other?
More.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to reappoint William Lex to the Library Commission.
Second?
Okay, we got a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, welcome back, William. Anything else, Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to reappoint Mr. Charles Hill to the Small Business Commission.
Okay,
Second?
okay, there's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, and the last one. To our newly created Women's Commission, I'd like to appoint Ms. Gabriella Maxman to the Women's Commission.
Second?
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any other appointments? Okay, seeing none, let's get down to council committee reports. There you go. So what we have here is council committee draft. So here is the drafts.
Thank you.
Please go ahead and review the committees, and if there is any feedback, we can come back again. That's correct. Okay. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did you want us to contact you? I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Because
this is just a draft. We don't have to like all figure it out now. I'm just gonna give it out to you so we have like some feedback
okay.
that we have. So this is just the initial draft, and then we'll come back the next meeting.
Okay.
And I'll take in consideration people's feedback, and then we'll come back with another draft.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Any other council committee reports? I had something here. Okay. I had one council committee report. I attended the Peninsula Clean Energy meeting, the last meeting of 2024, December 19th. So just some updates. The Moody's credit upgrade, PCE, is an A3, which is pretty good. They said it was an equivalent to an A minus. So an A is an A, I guess. They have a call center now for PCE. They have 3 representatives representing Mandarin and Spanish, and this is just a pilot, and we're gonna start considering other languages as well. There was also discussions about PG&E and talking about, you know, where they're going at with their rate hikes and their money and where that's going to. I know that there's the fires in LA and other large fires that are happening is because of different electric lines that go off, and a lot of that money will be going towards like wildfire charges, and that's something that's going to be considered along down the line. Another update is some brand strategies. So PCE is going through a consultant where we want to rebrand PCE. So right now they hired a consultant. They showed us a draft of the new PC. Actually, it went live in January, and it's basically a brochure coming to life. They want to, when they're rebranding, they want to do a distinction between PG&E and PCE, simplifying visuals and how they differ and function from PG&E. Some of the feedback is explicitly saying that PCE, it's a nonprofit, it's not a for-profit entity such as PG&E. They're also looking at branding refresh, marketing technology, social media strategy, maybe even changing the name. They were showing us different drafts of saying, like, if you look at the PCE logo, Peninsula Clean Energy, they say that maybe it's too long. So they're going through these different things in terms of making it more kind of like if you see a logo and you see Nike and you're like, oh, I know what they do. And so what they're trying to do is trying to get a logo or some sort of branding that's synonymous with clean energy in San Mateo County. Okay. One of the other feedbacks was Peninsula Clean Energy. It has 6 syllables and it's hard to say. Right, and one thing they did was they provided an example of a person that called into the call center, and they were like, "Yeah, I want to talk about Peninsula something. I don't know. It's just something like it's long, right?" So that was one of the questions that some of the feedback they had. So expect some sort of rebrand, refresh from Peninsula Clean Energy. So that's all I have.
That's 8, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, 8. Oh, that's what they. Peninsula. Okay. That's why I teach ethnic studies. I'm at Okay. Any other council committee reports? Okay. Moving on to city council reports. Vice Mayor.
Yes, not basically a report, but I think this would be a great time to bring this forth, Mr. Mayor and my colleagues. If we can consider agendizing a request for Arts and Culture Commission. All our commissions are very important to us, and we try our best to support them. If you take a look at the Octagon upstairs, they have done a tremendous job in getting artists to come in and display their artistic work and talent. As such, the public is always invited to attend these events, and what the Arts and Culture Commission has been doing is going out to various food vendors and at most times putting out their own money to provide refreshments. And I remember I brought this up a few years ago, and I think they have a budget of $500. But what I want to try to do is consider, instead of them always having to go to the well in contacting vendors, can you please help us? City Toyota is another entity that donates, that we as a council should consider maybe raising it from 500 to say $2,000 a year. If you don't use it, then it starts all over again. It's not like you get to carry it over and say, well, we only spent 500 the last year, so we got 1,500 plus additional 2,000. That'll be 35. Nope. It's based upon the events, and it's just to give some sort of leeway. So if we can possibly get that agendized for discussion and for my colleagues to know. Thank
That's
you.
an excellent
Mayor.
point,
That's all
Vice
I
Mayor.
have.
Any other city council reports?
Thank you, Mr.
Councilmember
Mayor. I did attend the CCAG meeting. We had the executive director, Sean Charpentier, that was here earlier in regards to the approval of Bay Wheels. I did attend, it was on December 12th. And there were actually a lot of folks that will be getting off CCAG, like so many people. And so, Davina Hurt, Lisa Gauthier, Karen Cunningham, Maria Dorr. So there was new folks that are going to be on there. But it was really an amazing presentation by the Community Planning Collaborative on the 21 Elements effort, as well as the board you sit on, Mr. Mayor, the Peninsula Clean Energy on your community programs.
Yeah.
So we had a presentation there. And some of the regular business items that we had approved that day was some of our finance recommendations of no changes to the investment portfolio, and also accepting the investment report. We also approved a resolution on funding agreement with the city of South San Francisco, increasing their agreement by $10,000 for developing a response plan for their smart corridor expansion. And then we also approved programming actions for the US 101 Managed Lanes project north of 380. So those were some of the items we also approved. And then we approved the CCAG board meeting 2025 calendar, and received the legislative update. And so I wanted to give the update on that. And then last year, I just want to say it was really amazing to see Operation Santa Claus again in full force. And then seeing Bring On the Holiday in the Bayshore community, that was really nice.
Oh, yeah,
And the parole making, there was parole making there.
that was good.
And it was really great to see. The Raising Cane's mural that was donated to us is now in the rotunda. So there's a piece of artwork that was donated by Raising Cane, commissioned from artist Venezir, that I know Mr. Mayor has mentioned. Hopefully we'll be able to have some of her artwork more so in Daly City. And then also, every year the Daly City hosts Lions Club. I want to acknowledge that group. Provides holiday cheer at their annual holiday luncheon at Hillcrest Gardens. and they've been doing that for many, many years with the amazing voice of our council member Praño with, what do you call it, our Christmas carols. And so I just wanted to share those. We didn't have a meeting after, but those were really, wonderful events at the end of the year. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to acknowledge a couple of things, that even though it was on the 9th, I want to say it was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, but as we all know, it can be every day. And they are also down there responding to all the wildfires, and while many are down there, here we have a lot that's going on here, and so much appreciation to our brothers and sisters in blue. And also today is Korean American Day. So this is something that was decided in California, but maybe we could take that in consideration while we always recognize everyone in our community, and I think the council is really good at that. And then speaking of which, even though we just came off the holidays, and I know that there was so much going on last year, and everybody here was really busy. Maybe the council could consider, I don't know if we have to put it on the agenda, or probably our city manager and Leilani, is that when we go for our holiday and we go to even Colma, and this is not a criticism, it's because you have always brought other things to us already, right? For the first time of things. And maybe we can start having those banners like Colma has, says season greetings, holiday greetings. I don't think we've seen those in years. And they always had those nice wreaths around there on the light poles. Just something very simple. I don't know the cost, and I'm sure that we have plenty of people that will either donate in our holiday. And I think that our city manager and our staff and our city council here would be willing to have that as we drive down our own streets. When we drive, that we just don't depend on Seremani Mall, or we just don't but we can also have that up and down John Daly, where a lot of people walk, and people come from the BART, and it continues on to other cities as we go into Colma, South City, where everybody else has little banners. And so something quaint, whatever, the staff and the council decide. But I just thought, I know we're a year ahead, a few months, but we have so much going on. But I was wondering if we could do that. And I have to say concur, and I know that Councilmember Praño was there as well. I think you believe at the Bay Shore as well, that the parole making was incredible. And a lot of that, where you see the children and people from all backgrounds, participating, and everything they do, it's really beautiful. And it was a great event, and thank you. Just something to think about, something happy, and so we can drive down our streets, because people are like, they drive through, and Colma has a banner. And now that we have the poles up because of the other top of the hill, that's already done, right? That's already there. So just something to think about. But thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni. Any other city council reports? All right, seeing none. Staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things I'd like to, you may have noticed Officer Chow and Officer Rodriguez are standing in for Acting Chief Christensen. The police department team is doing some team building, so off-site. So I had the pleasure of joining them for a couple hours today. So good stuff going on there. And then the one thing that rings out to me when we spoke about Magical Bridge earlier was, and early on when we had the discussions with them, was all abilities. That just stays in my head. All abilities was the key catchphrase that made me realize what it was all about. So that was that. And then as far as the banners, yeah, we're working on, there's costs already to actually put banners across the streets to poles. There's a lot of standards that have to be met, so it's not as easy as that. But right now we had the top of the hill banners all out through the city, and we currently have the water conservation banners. So those are out there right now, and we intend to continue seasonal banner displays. So thank you.
That'd be nice.
That's it.
Thank you, Tom, for those updates. Now we get down to the last part, was an adjournment in memory. Let's see here. I'll go ahead and start first. I didn't want to do this adjournment in memory at the end of last year because I just wanted to give my friends, family, the respect and space, and also, when the time was right. And I want to give this adjournment in memory to one of my good friends and colleagues, Mark Stephen Aquino. He was born May 22nd, 1986 to December 7th, 2024. I have known Mark when he was a student at San Francisco State. He lived in Daly City during his college term, and he was one of my teachers for Pinoy Pinay Educational Partnerships. So I just want to share a brief obituary. So I want to start off with a quote that he said. So Mark said, "For me, as a teacher, when I move through spaces within SFUSD, I'm always going back to my PEP training, and it's never just a cut and dry lesson. I'm always thinking about ways of pushing the envelope in terms of getting students to be creative, artistic, and also critical." With heavy hearts and deep sorrow, we share the news of our beloved brother, Mark Stephen Aquino's passing. Mark has transitioned to join our ancestors, leaving behind a void in our community that resonates deeply with all who had the privilege of knowing him. His departure is not just a loss, but a profound shift in the fabric of our collective experience, reminding us of the lasting impact one individual can have on so many lives. Mark's journey in education started with his parents, Perla Trinidad Quinto Aquino and Genaro de Guzman Aquino, who hailed from Santa Barbara, Pangasinan in the Philippines. Both were remarkable educators. His father was a high school science and English teacher, and his mother was a third grade elementary school teacher when they immigrated to the United States, and Mark was born in Oakland, California on May 22nd, 1986. Mark's journey as an educator began after receiving his BA in Asian American Studies from San Francisco State University in 2009. He immediately joined Pinoy Pinay Educational Partnerships, and where he taught at Balboa High School, demonstrating his commitment to community-based education from the beginning. In 2012, Mark earned his Master's of Arts in Teaching in Urban Education and Social Justice from the University of San Francisco, deepening his theoretical understanding of education as practices of freedom. Following his graduate studies, Mark began his tenure at James Denman Middle School in SFUSD, where he taught a diverse range of subjects, including English language arts, social science, video journalism, STEM, and ethnic studies. From 2019 to 2023, Mark taught at Abraham Lincoln High School in SFUSD as well, teaching ethnic studies honors, AVID, and modern world history, along with becoming an instructional coach and anti-racist teaching and learning coordinator. Not only did Mark teach 6th through 12th grade for 11 years in SFUSD, he was also an adjunct professor at the University of San Francisco, teaching instructional technology class. More recently, he taught 11th grade ethnic studies at 9th grade modern world history at Menlo School in Atherton, California. Beyond his teaching experiences, Mark was a water dweller. He documented his outdoor activities through his YouTube channel, Outdoor School of Thought, where he teaches pole fishing, sea foraging, camping, and cooking. Mark was a hip-hop enthusiast, a beat maker, and a hardcore professional wrestling fan, where you would catch him watching WWE, AEW, and independent wrestling shows all over the Bay Area. Mark was a truly force of nature whose energy, legacy, and spirit transcended the boundaries of his lifetime. His impact on PEP and everyone he worked with was immeasurable and enduring. As a critical pedagogue and one of the best ethnic studies teachers in the field, Mark embodied the essence of what it means to be an educator committed to social justice and transformation. I want to extend our deepest love and support to Mark's mother, Perla Trinidad Quinto Aquino, his father, Genaro de Guzman Aquino, and his loving wife, Nadia Sofia Perez. And I just want to say thank you for teaching me Like sometimes your mentees become your mentors, and he was gone way too soon. Next up, I'm gonna throw it over to Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Maria de la Cruz del Rosario, who passed away in Daly City, California on December 27, 2024, at the age of 90. She was surrounded by loved ones who will continue to honor her legacy. Ate, she was affectionately known, was born on October 22nd, 1934, in Gapan City, Nueva Ecija, Philippines, to the late Crispin and Basilia de la Cruz. She resided in Daly City, California for the last 18 years at Bellevue Avenue. Ate was the eldest of 8 children and had 10 children of her own. She was predeceased by her late husband, Patricio del Rosario, and their 2 children, Wilfredo and Cadio del Rosario. Ate was a beloved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, sister, and aunt. Ate devoted her life caring for others and always placed the needs of her family before her own. Her journey on this earth was marked by unconditional love, selflessness, and resilience. Ate enjoyed cooking a thoughtful and delicious meal for others. She valued quality time with loved ones by watching the latest Filipino teleseries together or connecting through conversation. She will be lovingly remembered by her children, grandchildren, sisters, brothers, and numerous family members. Her passing left a void in the hearts of her family and many more of whose lives were touched by her. We ask you to remember her for the profound and lasting impact she made on the lives of those who had the pleasure of knowing her. Thank you so much for this. The family is grateful for you to honor their Lola. I also have another adjourn in memory. For Purificacion S. Bautista. She was a cherished mother and a grandmother who passed away peacefully at the age of 93, surrounded by her loved ones on December 12, 2024. She was born on October 4, 1931, as the second youngest of 6 children to Esteban Santiago and Francisca Lawag Santiago. She was a well-respected and beloved teacher, admired by both her students and colleagues alike. Puring, affectionately also known as Sioni, was married for 24 years to Dr. Jesus R. Bautista, who passed away before her. They had 5 children: Alicia, Elenita, Ireneo, deceased, Olivia, and Ulysses. As a devoted mother and a widow, aside from the moral values and love of family, she also instilled in her children the value of education, and all of them went on to graduate into their chosen fields of medicine and dentistry. With her unconditional love, she gave her children and grandchildren the roots and wings to flourish in life. Condolences to Maria Amy Ariano Chan, whose family has been longstanding here in Daly City.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 tonight, and let me begin by Ron Appel. Ron Appel passed away at his home in Daly City at the age of 78 on December the 27th, 2024. I'm going to read the highlights of some of his. He married his beloved wife in 1971. They had 2 children. He had a very active life. He also was in the U.S., served in the U.S. Army and was a veteran. He has many accomplishments. He served on our Jefferson Elementary School Board for numerous years. He was a supervisor of the Material Management Division within the Department of Human Services. Ron was a leader in many other organizations. He was a board member of the Temple Beth Israel, Congregation Van Tavayat. He spent time serving others and those in his community. So heartfelt condolences to his family, to his congregation, and to all that loved him. My second one is to close in the beloved memory of Marie Brizuela. And I will not read the whole thing because we know that she had a long life and a very active life, but I will read some of the highlights. So we all know that Marie Brizuela, who passed away on December the 18th, 2024, surrounded by her loved ones at home. Marie Brizuela did many, many things. She was a retiree of our Daly City Fire Department. She also served on the Jefferson Elementary School Board for 41 years. And her most recent elected position was the Police Commissioner of Broadmoor, where she was actively engaged in her Broadmoor community, as well as the City of Daly City, the Colma Historical Society, and Daly City History Guild, among others. She also held various positions in the Broadmoor Property Owners Association, as well as many, many years working for, at the time, Congresswoman Jackie Spear. And she was a parishioner of Our Lady of Mercy, where she raised her children. She had a dance studio, which most of you realize, for many years. I know many of you remember that as well, with a lot of the Westlake Catholic women as well. I know Ms. Perano is very familiar with these organizations at OLM. She also, the name of her dance studio, Dance Academy, was the North Peninsula Dance Academy. And she made all the costumes.
Wow.
And then she also took those costumes, and even while on the school board, she went and did fittings at TR Policita for the children there on her own spare time and donated those costumes. She wrote scripts for plays and very creative in her own right. So she had Anna Marie, Angie, Andrea, they all have A's, and R for Rob was her only son. So we all know that Robert Brizuela, her husband of 55 years, who was a retired public works employee, who we all loved, he passed away New Year's Eve a year ago. So it's only fitting that she go be with him and spend her time with him. So on behalf of the family, we would like to thank our Daly City Police Department for their well-coordinated on the day of the funeral for the escort, our beloved Chief, Brennan, and I see Ronaldo, and there were many of those out there as well that came and helped in other cities. Well, they coordinated with Pacifica, Colma, in order to get Marie Brizuela to her final resting spot at the Greek Orthodox buried next to cemetery, where she was buried next to her husband. So that is the one there. So the last one, which I also will defer to the mayor because he's the mayor of our city as well, I think that it's appropriate that we also close in memory of the 39th President of the United States, President James Earl Carter, for many reasons. James Earl Carter, as we know, was a regular person even while he was in the White House, very humble to the day that he died of his 100 years, even going back and living in the same small home in Plains, Georgia. He was a veteran. He attended the U.S. Naval Academy. He was a man that everyone knew of decency, honor, and lived by faith. And he not only lived by it, he practiced it every day with everyone that he came in touch with. We know that he was presented with a Medal of Freedom, a Martin Luther King Award for Nonviolence of a Peace. This man, Nobel Prize winner in 2002. And these are just the name of a few accolades that the 39th president represented. So I think in these days and times when we look at reflections of elected members in our community, I think those that stand out, especially during these times, is his decency, is he lived by faith, is that he practiced those, and nothing changed him till his 100th year. So, and if out of respect, because the mayor of the city would like to close in our memory of our 100-year-old president, I defer to our mayor.
Okay. So with that, I would like to, offer a moment of silence for all those, especially for President Jimmy Carter. Bow our heads. Meeting adjourned.